Nationals Park in Washington, D.C., the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Hospital for Special Surgery, the official hospital of the New York Mets. By Mr. Softy. Go visit your certified vendor Mr. Softy truck in your local neighborhood. By Cadillac. By Fidelis Care, quality health coverage, it's our mission. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. Nationals Park across the Anacostia River is the scene. Two teams going in opposite directions. See if you can tell which is which. You got one team that's lost the first two games of the series, 6 games behind and looking and playing rather tight. You got the other team 6 games in front now and trying to pull away. And all is joyous in Metland right now. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to our nation's capital. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling will join us in just a moment as the Mets go for the sweep of their 3-game series against the Nationals. Mets have won 8-5 and 8-7 in the first 2 games of the series, so offense has been a key, but the bullpens have been the biggest contrast in the series. Monday afternoon, John Neese knocked out in the 4th. Carlos Torres came on, got the job done, then he got hurt. Dario Alvarez, first appearance of the season, struck out Bryce Harper in a big spot. Hansel Robles 6 up and 6 down in 2 brilliant innings, and then J. Reese Familia able to put on the finishing touches of an 8-5 Met win. Yesterday, Matt Harvey got beat up a little bit, but the Mets were able to come back against the Nationals bullpen. 6 walks in that 6-run 7th inning. Drew Storen gave up a 3-run double to Yoenis Cespedes, and the Mets tied the game on a bases-loaded walk. Then in the 8th inning with Jonathan Papelbon on the mound, Kirk Nieuwenhuis played hero, put the Mets in front with a home run, and the Mets had an 8-7 lead. Then it was up to the 2 guys at the end of the Mets bullpen. The returning hero, Tyler Clippard, back in D.C. and dominating his old mates. And then Familia, after getting in a little bit of trouble in the 9th, got the double play grounder from Yunel Escobar. And the Mets were able to celebrate an incredible 8-7 victory, and they've taken the first 2 games of this series. And when you look at the numbers for the 2 bullpens in this series, the contrast, Ronnie, is incredibly stark.
Well, it really goes back to what you were talking about, Gary. Tight versus loose, and the tight was gone to the Washington Nationals. Their bullpen has come in each of the first 2 games, not have been able to throw strikes. It looks like they're trying to pitch out of the strike zone, not attacking anyone. It's been just the opposite with the Mets. They've come in nice and loose. They've got great production from some of their veteran relievers and even from their rookie relievers.
And on the other hand, the offense for the Mets, 8 runs in each of the first 2 games. Yoenis Cespedes continues to be the big gun.
Well, I have not seen an all-around everyday player like this good since Carlos Beltran. He has just been phenomenal. He has sparked this ball club, Gary, with his glove, with his base running, and most notably his bat, getting big clutch hits. Remember, when he joined this ball club back on August 1st, the Mets were 2 games behind the Nationals. Now they have a 6-game lead. That is an 8-game swing in 35 games, and it all on the shoulders of Cespedes.
Well, the one thing that hasn't gone right for the Mets so far in this series has been their starting pitching, but they'll hand it off to their ace, Jacob deGrom, tonight.
Well, they really could use their starting pitching to start to get on a roll if and they make it to the postseason. And Jacob deGrom, not been great in his last 3 starts, looking for a good one tonight.
Steven Strasburg hasn't often been healthy lately, but when he has, he's pitched well.
Remember, this is a guy who struck out 242 batters last year. He's been on the DL twice, but at any time, he can turn into an ace of a game.
He's had back problems recently that have limited him. The Mets trying to put the hammer down in D.C. Go for the sweep of the Nats tonight. All the action on SNY. for free entry. Get to Citi Field Saturday night, October 3rd, when the Mets play the Nationals. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a fleece blanket, courtesy of the Northwest Company. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Time for your T-Mobile Data Strong fan photo of the game. And it comes to us from John Gardner. Those are some nice smiles right there. Way to go, guys.
Cheese.
Mets and Nationals. Mets trying to sweep the Nats away. First pitch coming right up. Some of the memorable images of the first two games of this series. It's a certainty that everybody around the country now knows how to spell new and ice.
You sure?
Well, at least they're making more of an effort. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup tonight. Exact same starting eight that the Mets ran out there last night when they came from 6 runs down to win. Mets came from 6 runs down in the 7th inning or later for the first time in 14 years, and they did it in a huge spot in the season to open up a 6-game lead over the Nationals. And that puts an enormous amount of import on the shoulders of Steven Strasburg tonight.
Well, those are his Toyota numbers. Gary mentioned that his last start he left after 4 innings with some back irritation. He's been on the DL twice this year, but in his career he's 51-36. Career whip 1.11. He can put up a huge game.
And we'll take a look at the Nationals defense, brought to you by Coors Light. And you have Dendecker in center and Worth in left, Harper in right.
I think that's
a mistake.
They put Dendecker in left.
Yes.
Harper in center and Worth in right. I think our graphic was wrong.
So it's only his 8th start in center field on the season. Dendecker only his 10th. He's been spot playing, of course, the former Met.
And because Strasburg's so good, he's playing with no infielders tonight.
I could understand why our graphics guys got that wrong, because of these three, Matt Dendecker, we know, is by far the most talented center fielder. I have no idea why Matt Williams has chosen to configure his outfield this way.
Very, very surprised. The only thing I could maybe ascertain from this is that he thinks that Harper has the better arm between him and Dendecker. That'd be the only thing.
Michael Taylor, who's been playing center field with Denard Span out, is out. His knee is swollen. Remember, he made that stumble on the warning track last night chasing Curtis Granderson's triple. Yunel Escobar also out of the lineup. He has a 103-degree fever. And Ryan Zimmerman out for the second straight night with an oblique. So it's a banged-up group of Nationals that head into this desperation game for them tonight.
Well, it all seems to be falling apart for these Nationals, and a golden opportunity for your Metropolitans to stick the harpoon in and twist it.
You're so cruel.
If you're wondering why we are waiting, it's for national television. See, when we're not ready, they just start the game. But when the national TV people are here, they get to call the shots.
I know. When we fly out a commercial break sometimes, folks, so we don't miss a pitch for you. Trust me.
And now finally they give the go-ahead. So Mike Estabrook says play. And Curtis Granderson will do just that. Curtis is 3 for 6 in this series with 4 walks. He has been on base almost constantly. Strasburg's first pitch of the night is taken high, and we're underway. Granderson, Cespedes, and Murphy try and get the Mets off to a good start against Strasburg, of whom the Mets have seen very little over the course of his career. This is only his 9th start against the Mets. And Granderson pops one up. Along the line, Rendon gives way to Desmond, who catches it in fair territory for the first down.
Well, Strasburg is going to feature 95-plus footness fastball. He's got an outstanding changeup he uses against the left-handed hitters, and a good slurve breaking ball.
I was mentioning how little the Mets have seen Strasburg. He's made 8 starts against the Mets, 14 against the Phillies, 18 against the Braves, and 22 against the Marlins.
So it's kind of just happenstance that he always misses them, or he's been on the DL when the Nationals have faced the Mets.
Now he'll face Cespedes for the first time. Cespedes has owned this series, 4 for 10, 3 doubles and a home run. Had the big 3-run double against Drew Storen in the game last night. And he hits one toward the hole. Nice backhand stop by Desmond. The one-hop throw, though, is not in time. Cespedes beats it out for an infield hit. Desmond's been playing some brilliant defense lately after a very shaky start to his season. But Cespedes burning down the line to beat it.
Well, Cespedes can fly. He smells this hit. Nice play by Desmond. Off-balance throw with Mustard. Nice long hop to Robinson. Cespedes can run another base hit on this road trip. His 10th.
So the Mets have a 1-out base runner. Now Daniel Murphy, who has struggled at the plate in this series, 0 for 8.
Well, it's a tough injury for Daniel with that back left leg quad. You'd rather have it on your striding leg, your front leg, your right leg. In hitting, your anchor is your back leg, and in Daniel's case, his left leg, which is the wounded quad, because you have to anchor and you drive off that back leg. So I am almost for sure certain that it's affecting Daniel at the plate.
It's good to have you back, Keith. You took a rather circuitous route from Miami to Washington, didn't you?
Yeah, via New York.
Murphy hits one out to left center, and Harper over in the gap, and that's the second out.
Wounded quad sounds like a messy college dorm room.
Where's John Belushi?
By the way, for Harper, the 8th game he started in center field this year, so he plays there some, but Dendecker would seem to be the much more accomplished center fielder. And you got Worth, who's been playing all year in left, now playing in right, which is probably his better spot. He's a little shakier in left field than he has in right. So now David Wright bats with 2 out and a runner at first. Wright 3 for 9 in this series, including a home run last night, his first time up.
Here's the home run last night, his first at bat. fastball up, inner half, mistake off of Zimmerman. And David, with that game, the go-ahead single in the first game of the series, seems to be catching pennant fever.
Well, one thing's for certain, he is having just a ball in this series so far.
Taking nothing for granted now, I guess, because of that injury.
Well, and he's said it many times, you know, he made it to the postseason early in his career in 06, came close the next 2 years, and kind of took it for granted that he'd be in a race every year. Well, the last half dozen years have been dark years, and he's been in and out of the lineup because of injuries. And he's just, A, happy to be playing, and 2, enormously happy to be playing in a pennant race.
Well, it would really behoove the Mets if they can somehow sweep this series. I bet you a lot of the regulars will get a day off tomorrow in Atlanta.
That start a 4-game series at Turner Field tomorrow night. 1-1 from Strasburg. And he gets the breaking ball in for a strike, 1-2. Strasburg now 27 years old, 51 career wins, 36 losses. Had a real good year last year, led the league in strikeouts, but as Ronnie mentioned, only 18 starts this year because of injuries. He had a neck injury in May, an oblique injury in July, back problems recently. So it's been hard for him to stay on the mound.
That seems to be his MO, though, Gary. Just every year he doesn't stay healthy. He can't complete a full season.
Big kid, 6'4", 230. Said when he was in college he was around the 250, 260 mark.
Played for Tony Gwynn at San Diego State.
Really?
Yeah.
Considered Tony his mentor.
Then he was a load.
Right, flares one, shallow right. Espinosa back, and he makes the grab to retire the side. Espinosa took an odd route to it, but makes the play and gets Strasburg through the top of the first.
Espinosa at second base. Rendon moves over to third. Matt Dendecker getting the start in left field. the lineup that Matt Williams runs out against Jacob deGrom for his 27th start of the year.
Well, his Jeep numbers, he's 6th in ERA, 6th in WHIP in the National League. But the Nats have really given him, maybe of the NL East teams, the most problems. 1 and 2 is ERA, 3.5.
Jason Worth 4 for 10 in this series. He's hit in 10 straight games. Has done well since he was moved up to the leadoff spot. DeGrom blows it right by him. And 0-2. That's the way Matt Harvey approached him yesterday.
His first 2 at bats against Matt Harvey. Gosh, I might have got on my horse and rode off into the mountains and found another profession. Gosh, oh might I was just 6 pitches. He didn't make contact. All upstairs.
Grounded down to third.
Nice.
Offbeat hop for right to handle. And he throws him out 1 away.
Well, after that nice play by David staying in front, it's apropos. We'll go to the Metsy defense. And that's always brought to you by Lexus. Conforto in left. Believe it or not, folks, that's his 30th start in left field. 1 month worth of work, and he's been phenomenal. Lucas Duda's 2nd start back off the DL and the bad back. And Darno, the old faithful back there, he and Granderson are in there pretty much every day.
Here's Danny Espinosa getting his first start of the series. 0 for 2 in the first 2 games. Espinosa with power from both sides of the plate. And thinks about a bunt and takes a slider for ball 1.
Speaking of bunt, how about Rendon bunting last night? Oh my goodness.
We couldn't believe it up here, and most people couldn't believe it all around this ballpark.
I was watching and listening to you guys on my iPad, and Gary says, no, he can't do it 3-1. And I screamed at him. I said, yes, he can.
Well, I don't think I'd ever have Rendon bunt in the first place, and certainly not on 3-1. But when you consider the circumstances that Matt Williams had already run through his best relievers, don't you have to play that inning to win rather than to tie?
Absolutely. And if you do tie it, then you got to go to Doug Fister for as many innings as he can go. So it was an odd move, but you came on, Gary, talking about tight and loose. I thought that was a tight call as opposed to a loose call by Williams.
By the way, the other piece of that is that had the bunt been successful, I asked Terry Collins, would they have walked Bryce Harper, put the winning run on base? He said no.
Okay.
And I agree.
Yes.
The Mets have pitched Harper tough all year. It hasn't hurt them.
Espinosa goes down on the high fastball. DeGrom yielding early. That's his first strikeout. 2 away.
Espinosa down hitter, Keith.
Well, you know what, Ron, I was watching yesterday. Matt Harvey got hurt down in the strike zone. All the hitters today are low ball hitters. They have trouble upstairs. And if you can pop that fastball up in the letters and above, you're going to have success.
So here's Harper, 0 for 8 in the series. And as Keith mentioned, the Mets have handled Harper pretty well this year. He's got 1 home run against the Mets this season. He's hitting just .214 with 18 strikeouts in 15 games against the Mets.
He almost swings like Ichiro, but the Japanese style of hitting where they're running to first base almost. You see, watch his body, folks. When he swings, he moves away. His body moves away from the plate. Makes him very vulnerable away.
So how do you explain that he's hitting .333 and leading the league in batting,
well,
in addition to all the home runs?
It's always been my contention that pitchers are probably one of the stupidest people on earth.
Why do I have to hear that?
No offense, Ronnie.
You're
absolutely supposed to say present company excluded, aren't you?
Absolutely taken.
0-2 from DeGrom.
My explanation really, and Keith's right, that pitchers can be stupid and make mistakes. He is a great breaking ball hitter. And when you're a guy who falls off the ball, if you throw it down and in breaking ball, it's down middle to him. If you're going to throw a breaking ball to Harper, you got to bounce it.
1-2 from DeGrom. And he smacks it to deep right field, headed back toward the wall. Granderson at the fence, but it's gone. So Bryce Harper finally connects in this series. His first hit in the 3 games, his 35th home run of the season, and it gives the Nationals a 1-0 lead.
Well, this pitch was upstairs, Ronnie, but in. And I don't mind pitching in to Harper. You can't live on the outside corner. But he does love it middle in. Is it up enough, Ron, or is it in it, and is it in enough?
Remember, he falls off, like you said, in sometimes becomes middle for Harper.
They want to come in. It's up. It kind of bled a little bit out. Give him hitter a little credit there. It wasn't that bad a pitch.
Certainly was not in the strike zone. But Harper takes it out for his 35th of the year to give the Nats the early edge. Now Anthony Rendon takes a slider off the plate.
And there's a swing. He's got a very awkward swing, very disjointed. It's not fluid, but it works for him. He's the forerunner. He's the front runner for MVP in the National League. He's like a rusty gate that's got a hinge, a couple screws out of the hinges, and it's not something you wouldn't teach, but it works for him. And there's been a lot of unorthodox swingers over the history of this ball game. They were great hitters.
Rendon takes the fastball low, 2-1. Rendon 2 for 9 in this series. By the way, talking about Matt Williams' decision to have Rendon bunt in the ninth, his figuring was that with Familia and the way he pounds the bottom of the strike zone with his sinker, he was just trying to at all costs stay out of the double play.
Well, stay out of the double play, but if you go back in that game, how did you kill Harvey in the first inning? You had 4 hits on the ground that found holes. Rendon is, to me, their best hitter in the lineup. I'm talking about pure hitter, not power.
And that's defensive thinking in nature, isn't it? It's defensive thinking.
Who would think that? That's
right. Like, you got one of your best hitters up. Let him swing the bat.
It's like standing on the tee box and saying, boy, there's a lot of sand out there. You'd never think that.
Some people would. 3-2 to Rendon with Clint Robinson on deck, and DeGrom issues a walk. So after retiring the first 2 hitters, DeGrom gives up a home run to Harper, walks Rendon. Matt Williams was the National League Manager of the Year last year, but handed a team this year that majority of folks thought was going to go to the World Series, and it hasn't worked out very well.
And the final piece, I mean, it sounds like we're killing Matt, but the final piece on Rendon is that he hasn't done it all year with him. It's hard to ask a player to do something you haven't asked him to do all season long.
Here's Clint Robinson, 2 for 3 yesterday, filling in for the injured Ryan Zimmerman, who came up with an oblique injury that kept him out after the first game of the series.
Another guy that is a low ball hitter, like the typical left-hander, likes the ball down, pull hitter.
Changeup shatters the bat of Robinson. It goes foul.
That's what happens when you have that scooped out barrel, the top of the barrel. What do they call that, Ron? I forget, the cone or inverted cone. I used to get that because I was able to get better wood. Why? Because if you didn't have that scoop taken out of the top, if you had a 32-ounce bat, it would be less powerful wood. You follow me? So you're losing a little bit of maybe a half an ounce, or you're getting a half an ounce better wood. I hope I made that clear for you folks out there.
Well, the theory of the cupping at the end of the bat is that you can have the same length bat with that much less weight, so you can get it around better.
So the heavier the wood, obviously, when I was playing, it was you never wanted to get. You swung a 34-inch, you never wanted to go below 32 ounces.
Robinson goes down on the inside fastball. So DeGrom fans a couple in the inning, but in between, Bryce Harper takes him deep. Harper's first hit in the series is his 35th home run of the year. And the Nats have a 1-0 lead after 1. push to the postseason is with the MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcasts, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or tablet now. Jacob deGrom down 1-0 after a Bryce Harper home run. Lucas Duda will lead off the second against Steven Strasburg. Duda made his return from the disabled list last night, went 0 for 3, but drew the bases loaded walk from Drew Storen that tied the game to cap the Mets' 6-run 7th inning. The Mets' victory yesterday was certainly memorable, but it was also incredibly rare.
Yeah.
When you think about the number of things that needed to happen for the Mets to win that game, including the 6 walks that the Nationals bullpen issued in the 7th inning. Just put that in context. This is the 54th year of the Mets franchise. It's only the 3rd inning in their history in which they've received as many as 6 walks. And it was a team effort. Blake Trinan, Felipe Rivero, and ultimately Drew Storen.
It was a gift from the gods. 6 walks came with 2 outs too, right?
Yep, all of them.
Oh.
Two and 2 to Duda with Darno and Conforto to follow. Full shift on against Duda. And Lucas smacks one the other way, but Dendecker retreating. And he's there to make the catch. 1 out. Well, there was a stunning victory. It was a huge victory for the Mets, and maybe no one was more stunned than Terry Collins.
I'm not sure I was involved in a bigger win than that game right there. To be in the position we were in and to fight back against, Jordan Zimmerman and Drew Storen and Jonathan Papelbon and come out on top is a huge salute to the guys in that room. The thought in my mind was, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that was the first thing I'm thinking of. I'm looking up, I'm saying, we're going to tie this thing. You got to be kidding. And, I'm thinking right now at that particular time, I'm thinking, geez, I got to get Murphy out of there because of his leg. I got to, maybe I need to get David out of there. And the next thing I know, it's 7-5. And when Cespedes came up, I said, cripes, this guy might hit a home run here. And what he does, he hits a base clearing double. And that's, I just shake my head. I don't have words for it.
Well, instead, this guy hit a home run. Travis d'Arnaud with his 11th home run of the year ties the game for the Mets on the first pitch he sees from Steven Strasburg, and we're all even at 1.
Well, d'Arnaud has been steady. Look at that level swing and that high fastball, folks. He is not a low ball hitter singly. He hit the ball high and low because he stays level. That is just good hitting.
Well, Harper homers for the Nats, d'Arnaud homers for the Mets, and we're back even.
Pound for pound, d'Arnaud have as much power as anyone on the team. I mean, he's not a big guy.
Howard Johnson-esque.
There you go.
A guy's not big but has tremendous power.
Right. Well, he can hit. Another
2-0 to Conforto.
Another nice pickup. The Sandy Alderson made some really nice moves, picking up some young talent now that is making this club what it is.
Conforto takes one the other way toward the line. Dendecker to grab it. Dendecker was playing a little bit toward left field. I think Conforto was stunned that Dendecker was in position to catch that ball.
Well, maybe
he scorched it.
Maybe they're going to pitch him away and play him away. So next time, okay, you want to play the line? I'll find the gap next time, pal.
The book got him right there.
Well, more and more Michael's been hitting the left field.
And I'm pleased with that. He'll learn to pull as he becomes more experienced. And he can pull already, Gary.
Wilmer Flores 3 for 8 in this series. Hitting 8th in the order, and he pops one up. Desmond waiting for it, and that retires assignment. The Mets get even on a Travis d'Arnaud home run, his 11th of the year. 1-1 game in the second. Early look at our Verizon trivia question: who has hit the most home runs for the Nationals/Expos franchise against the Mets? Ian Desmond leads off the home second and takes inside from DeGrom. You guys have a notion about that?
I have a notion. I would think it would be those guys from the 70s and early 80s.
I mean, it could have been a guy who ended up playing for the Mets.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Or a guy who could have been playing for the Cubs.
I think that's the, yeah.
Those would be the two that would be at the top of my list. Desmond 3 for 7 in this series. Wilson Ramos on deck, then Matt Dendecker for the Nationals in the second.
One ballpark where you never have to worry about a foul ball coming into the booth.
That would have to be like Frank Howard would be the only guy that can do it.
Up here on the 7th floor, no chance.
It's the 5th floor now, Gary.
Right. That's newspeak. Well, this is us. And 6 levels down is the field. One-handed and popped up near the mound. And Wright comes in to get it. One away. See, it's so far down that they couldn't even pan the camera all the way down at the time that we had.
That's right. Well, I asked you yesterday, is this very similar to your seats when you were a kid at Shea Stadium?
By the way, don't fear for our stage manager, Tracy. She's hanging out the window, but she does that all the time. So she's safe. We worry about her, but she's safe.
She's like a gargoyle over there.
Oh, that's not very nice, I don't think.
I don't think that's exactly what you meant. Here's Wilson Ramos. And Ramos hits one toward the middle. And Flores flashes over, takes his time, and throws out Ramos 2 away.
Nice play up the middle. Knows he has plenty of time, but the not so fleet of foot Ramos takes his time, makes the play. Don't like the tapping of the glove. I know I'm getting a little picky, but I'm just sorry. Those are things that are sticklers for me.
So here's the former Matt Dendecker, making his first appearance in this series. 12th game he started for the Nats this year. He's only had 57 big league at bats this season.
Well, he got a big hit in that Atlanta series. He got a 9th inning game tying base hit when we were in Miami.
Well, his former running mate Kirk Neuenhuis has had an impact on this series. Neuenhuis with the big home run yesterday, and now Dendecker gets a chance to shine.
Well, you had this national team coming flying high off a 4 games home sweep of the Braves, and the Mets have just devastating losses delivered to them, one-handed to them.
Well, the Mets were 4-15 against the Nats last year, but they turned it around. They've gone 9-6. They've beaten the Nats 5 straight times. They swept them a series at Citi Field that got them even for first place, and now the 2 here have put them 6 games in front.
Upstairs.
Going right by Dendecker, 2-2.
I always like Dendecker. I like the swing, but he dropped that back shoulder, and you can't catch up to that high cheddar.
Two from DeGrom. Pounds that slider into the ground.
Interesting when you look at DeGrom's shoes. I remember, Keith, in the All-Star games when you were a Met, you always used to wear white shoes. Well, his shoes now are almost more white than blue.
It was the only time I broke out my Billy White shoes, Johnson shoes.
Curveball wraps around the plate, and it's 3-2.
Ronnie, you know the umpires better than me. They're the shoots.
Estabrook is a fine umpire.
Good umpire?
I think because that's the first breaking ball he's seen. Maybe why he missed it.
3-2 with the pitcher on deck, and Dendecker flies one to shallow center. Cespedes in under it, and that retires the side. So DeGrom sets him down 1-2-3 in the second. 1-1 after 2. Time to be a Mets fan and player. From the newest members to the face of the franchise, get an inside look at how the team is flourishing during their push to the playoffs on Mets Insider, presented by W.B. Mason, Sunday at 12:30, only on SNY. Jacob deGrom leads off for the Mets in the third. 9 hits this year. And he takes a fastball strike from Steven Strasburg.
One of more than a few good hitting pitchers, starting pitchers, the Mets run up there.
He had a hit and a walk in his last start against Miami. His start against Miami, deGrom had the one bad inning when he gave up 3 runs. Made it through 6.
He got hit pretty hard, though. There was some balls hit hard off of him, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the game.
I did.
It was the game the Mets ended up losing in 11 innings after rallying to tie in the 9th.
Well, you don't know what you're going to do with the Mets rotation. In a regular rotation with the number of games left, deGrom would have 5 more starts left approximately. You don't know if that's going to happen or not. I know from personal experience that sometimes the dog days of August take something out of you. And then when you get to September, sometimes you can regroup because you can see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Curveball from Strasburg gets deGrom looking. First strikeout of the night for Strasburg.
Well, he's a big kid, and what he does is his motion is pretty pure and beautiful. He just comes up, meets the glove with that knee, and stays back just enough. Look at that huge stride. And really rips down on that breaking ball. That's why he gets that late break.
When he came out of San Diego State as the #1 overall pick in 2009, he was considered a once-in-a-generation pitching talent. Burst on the scene and struck out 14 in his first start against the Pirates, and everybody figured the second coming of Walter Johnson was here. But it hasn't quite been a smooth ride for Strasburg.
Some his own doing, some his club's doing, to tell you the truth. When he got drafted, he and Harper, I think it's the closest thing to me of Gooden and Strawberry. That #1 picks that had a chance to change an organization just by those two draftees.
In their case, they were back-to-back years in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, Doc and Straw were 80 and 82, I believe.
I know more about number 1 draft choices than I did last night.
Yes.
He got stumped.
1-2 to Granderson, and he struck him out. Good curveball by Strasburg. Back-to-back strikeouts to start the third.
Well, he also hides the ball pretty well. You don't pick it up, and you have to be, Keith, right, ready for that 95, 96 miles an hour. And he breaks off a curveball like that. It's tough.
It's tough to lay off. You try the great curveballs. The old terminology, they break off the table. They're tough. They're hard to lay off. They have tremendous velocity, and the great ones have great spin, great rotation.
Cespedes hit one to deep short for an infield hit his first time. Strasburg's whip this year is 1.26, the highest of any season in his career. But his more recent results have been much better.
Getting his curveball over this inning.
One and one to Cespedes, and he got jammed and fouls it back. 1-2. 35 games for Yoenis Cespedes as a Met. 34 RBIs, 25 extra base hits. Those are franchise records for a player's first 35 games. Or Lowe's never stopped improving. Keith mentioned it earlier, the comparison to Manny Ramirez going to the Dodgers in 08. Manny had 53 RBIs in 53 games and hit .396 the last 2 months. Strasburg strikes out the side with 3 curveballs. Big Steven Strasburg has his hook working tonight. Middle of the third, Mets and Nats tied at 1. Steven Strasburg leads off the bottom of the third for the Nationals. Strasburg just 3 for 26 this year, lifetime 144 hitter. You know, we've heard a lot this week about Strasburg and what happened with him in 2012 in relation to what's happening with Matt Harvey this year coming off Tommy John surgery. It's been very interesting to listen to some of the Nationals folks who are still very defensive about what happened 3 years ago when he was shut down in September as he strikes out, and the revisionist history that they're engaging in. The mantra here is, well, Strasburg's absence didn't hurt the Nationals in the playoffs because his replacement, Ross Detweiler, pitched well. But Detweiler was great down the stretch. He was going to be in the rotation anyway. It was Edwin Jackson, who had nearly an 80 ERA in September, who wouldn't have, and he got beat.
Wouldn't have been in the rotation.
Right. And Strasburg would have pitched game 1 and 5, and for all the indignity that was heaped on Drew Storen for blowing the game in the 9th against the Cardinals in game 5. Wright throws out Worth for the second out. It was Gio Gonzalez who started walking the ballpark that started that whole thing in motion. And if it had been Strasburg in game 5 instead of Gio, that might not have happened.
Walking the ballpark with a huge lead. That was the issue.
So it's kind of comical that they're still defending that and making stuff up about how it didn't really hurt them in the long run.
But you know what? Teams have been doing that forever. They're very defensive right now. This is a team that was picked to be World Series or bust. That was the kind of team it was supposed to be this year. We showed the graphic last night on the, what was it, Las Vegas odds or whatever the odds are on teams going to the World Series, and they were the favorite by far. And if the Mets continue to play the way they're playing, they'll have a tea time on October 5th.
Curveball by DeGrom, and it's 0-2. Well, those were the preseason odds, and that's where the favorites, according to Vegas. Mets were 30-1.
Look at the Red Sox. Oh boy, what a bomb out.
Oh. Where was Kansas City in that figure?
All right.
I mean, the team only, went to the 7th game of the World Series last year.
Well, you're familiar with the PECOTA rankings, right?
Yes.
So if you look at those from this offseason, projections of how many wins the team is going to get, let's just say they had a bad winter.
By the way, it's very nice of them to name those rankings after Bill PECOTA. He's such a good guy.
The great guy.
DeGrom strikes out Espinosa for the second time. 4th strikeout for Jacob DeGrom. He's retired 7 in a row. Home runs, 1-1 game, Mets and Nats in the final game of the series, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, the buzzword around this team this week, and really it's been all season, but most notably over the last couple of nights, has been resiliency, what this team has been able to do. And being resilient is one of those traits that it's hard to put your finger on just a tangible reason or reasons why a team develops that characteristic. Speaking to a bunch of guys in the clubhouse, though, here's what I've kind of come up with, summation of why this group believes they're able to be so resilient. First of all, Michael Kadire was talking a lot about this. This is a team, the core of it, a lot of young guys that came up together, got married together, engaged together, developed a trust in one another. Second of all, they then added veterans to that group, but the right type of veterans, guys that don't have egos, guys that are amenable to ever-changing roles like Kadire or a Kelly Johnson or a Juan Uribe. And then finally, and Tim Tuffle was talking about this team endured a lot of injuries this season. And if you're able to endure those injuries, come through the other side, and then get healthy again, what that does is it allows a lot of guys to have been put in positions that they normally would not have been put in prior. So then, a day like yesterday when Kirk Neuenhuis up in a big spot, he doesn't feel totally out of his element and is able to come through.
Well, the Mets have certainly gotten contributions from everybody on this roster, whether it be before they started adding personnel to the current state where they have so many options.
I mean, and nothing's changed in the game. You know, when you've got everybody really talking about Kadire and the veterans who are basically they're accepting their role, and you've got 25 players all united into one goal. Nothing's changed. There's no, as Steve said, no egos. The pennant, the division flag is the most important thing. This game hasn't changed. It's all part of the makeup of a team.
You're a lot more resilient when you have players who can play. It's very difficult, when you're in the middle of the summer and you had a lot of those injuries that Steve was talking about, and hard to be resilient when you have a lot of players playing that are young and inexperienced and maybe shouldn't be at this level. And now the people that you have coming up. Last night, Uribe takes an at-bat. Okay, it's just a walk. It's not a huge thing.
Murphy lines one to center, and Harper's got it.
But, that's a veteran at-bat. It's those little kind of things that allow you to have those kind of comebacks. What do the Mets have? 12 come-from-behind wins since August 1st. There's a reason for that.
And there's a lot, Uribe, you're sticking with Uribe. Uribe brought a little levity to the clubhouse and in the dugout.
Right.
He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He's engaging. He laughs. He smiles. He's up. You can't have a bunch of guys that are uptight and tense. You've got to have a mixture. Get the guys to laugh. Make it fun. It's supposed to be fun out there competing.
And all those things are fantastic. But ultimately, it's about players.
Yeah.
And the Mets have half a dozen offensive players that they didn't have 6 weeks ago, including David Wright and Travis d'Arnaud.
What did you and I say before the game last night? We looked at the Mets lineup and we went, whoa, it's a really good lineup.
Yes.
How many days in June did we say that?
Never.
I mean, the Mets are going to Atlanta for a series to start tomorrow as you look at their numbers since July 25th. And I was looking at the last series the Mets played in Atlanta back in June. Remember? Got swept there.
Yep.
And in only one of the games did they score more than one run. It's an entirely different team.
Yes.
So is Atlanta.
Well, that's true, too.
Oh, nice breaking ball. He's got a good one. And also, too, if you look at the Mets lineup from top to bottom with DeGrom, a left-hand hitter, it's left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. It's wonderful for Terry, and it's a bane for the opposing manager.
1-2 from Strasburg, and he bounces that one.
Strasburg has two different breaking balls working. He's got a sharp little slider that breaks from, if you look at a clock, from 2 to 8. And then he has that straight overhand hook that he'll bounce in the dirt. So when he's got both of those going, difficult on the hitters.
Wright popped up his first time up. And David takes the curveball, and he knew he'd been had. That's 4 strikeouts for Strasburg, and they've all come on the curveball.
Well, David, watch him bail on this one. Boy, oh boy.
If you play long enough, Keith, it happens to everyone, right? You think the ball's going to be right at you, and next thing you know, it's down the middle.
So Strasburg's retired 7 in a row since d'Arnaud's home run. And now Duda, who flied to left his first time up.
Been a very odd year for Lucas, has it not? I mean, just cold, hot, cold again, raging hot. And if he can get hot, like that little streak he had with that home run streak, this final month at some point, it's going to be devastating.
I think of all the players on the Mets, if you had to give him a grade, it would take you a long time to come up with one, wouldn't it?
Boy, you thought he was on his way when he got those 8 home runs?
9 home runs in 8
days. I mean, it was just raging hot.
And he hasn't had a home run since.
And it's just been one of those years where he hasn't been able to maintain. It's been a very erratic season for Lucas.
One, two.
It's a strikeout of right. Watch out, Strasburg. See how he releases that? That comes right off that middle finger at the last second, and that starts the rotation of the seams. And if you've got great rotation like he does, you get that late break.
Spin rate, baby.
That's right.
And he gets Duda on the curveball. 5 strikeouts in the last 6 batters for Strasburg, and they've all come on the curve. We're celebrating 10 years of Mets baseball. From Tim. Tears of joy. Well, that was the theme that week. Wilmer's tears turning to exhilaration after that home run.
That was I think, a unifying factor in this season so far that united this club. One of the many elements that was part of this turnaround.
Well, that was the first game of that series with the Nats, which the Mets began 3 games behind. And, you know, the night that Wilmer thought he was traded and teared up on the field had so much impact on this team in so many different ways. One, because the fans fell in love with him. But the other, if the trade had gone through, the Mets would never have Cespedes.
They would have Gomez.
Right. I don't think too many Met fans would take that trade right now.
No.
Bryce Harper leads off in the home 4th inning and thinks about a bunt with Wright playing back.
When you have a championship season, there's these little building block moments that happen, and that certainly was one of the big ones. What was that, in the 12th inning?
12th inning. But, you know, it's not just that he hit the home run. It's juxtaposed against what had happened that entire week.
Yeah.
Remember the Mets had that meltdown game the day before against the Padres when they lost that rain-delayed game in the ninth.
Wilmer had a chance to win it earlier in the game. It didn't happen.
Right. And they just seemed to propel from there. That swept that series against the Nats and trying to do it again here in D.C.
Where's that pitch?
Harper hit a home run on an up and in fastball his first time up, his first hit in this series and his 35th of the year. And he drives this one to right center. That's going to be up the gap. Harper to second and pulls in with a leadoff double. So Bryce Harper coming alive tonight. A home run and now a two-base hit in his first two at bats.
Well, this was not located well. Right down the middle, belt high, a little above the knees. Lucky he didn't hit the barrel out of quick. This is a rocket into the gap. And I'm sure they wanted to go away. And you see Darno coming back over the plate with the backhand. I mean, he almost has very similar, but not as extreme. Almost has that little bit of that hockey swing like Richie Hebner, but not as extreme.
I don't think you're allowed to mention that name in this booth, by the way.
That's 70 extra base hits now for Harper. And now Rendon takes a strike at the knees.
Well, Hebner, of course, for all you younger fans, was part of those great Pirate teams. He played third base, left-hand hitter for those, 70 Pirates?
Played through the 70s with the Pirates. Later he was a Philly and he was affected there, but he had the 1 year with the Mets in 1979 that was better forgotten.
Well, I can tell you that all he did was moan and groan about being in New York. He did not like New York.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious.
Yep.
New York didn't like him much either.
I didn't ask for the information. He volunteered it.
It was kind of like you in the beginning of '83.
Harper at second, carrying the lead run with nobody out. Glenn Robinson on deck. DeGrom ahead on Rendon 0-2.
By the way, I noticed that there is a new president that runs in the president races. Who is it?
Calvin Coolidge.
Calvin
Coolidge.
Cal.
Okay. I wonder why they chose Cal.
Because he was the first president to throw out the first pitch on opening day.
I thought Taft was. I thought it was Taft.
I thought Taft was the first to ever do it, and Coolidge was the first on opening day. I might have my history a little wrong.
I like that they used to throw it from the box, better to the catcher.
Well, that was true until the 70s.
Only person I've seen throw the ball properly was Johnny Mack a couple weeks ago when you guys had him at Citi Field.
Pass to DeGrom. Murphy on the backhand throws out Rendon, but that will advance Harper to third. DeGrom trying desperately to reach up for it. Had he been able to, he could have held the runner at second.
See how the Mets play the infield. Terry's been known to bring it in, and he's going to bring it in. Not enough height for DeGrom. Need to be 6'8". Need to be Syndergaard.
Good situational hitting there from Rendon.
And the infield is in.
Glenn Robinson, the batter, struck out his first time up. This is a radical infield in shift. I don't think I've seen this before.
You've got Flores just to the left side of second base, almost like a extra infielder where you'd play him up the middle.
Leaves that hole on the left side wide open for Robinson.
Here's a question, Keith. Would you move Flores over a little bit because you have him such an outstanding fielding pitcher, or does that matter?
I think because DeGrom, whether he follows through, is going to follow through towards the first base line.
All right.
So that covers his offside.
To his left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It covers it.
Harper at third and one out. And Robinson smacks it right through that open hole, and the Nats regain the lead. Glenn Robinson taking one the other way for an RBI single to make it 2-1 Washington.
You know, I've just been thinking, Gary, and sometimes when you play such an accentuated shift as you see there, if I'm Robinson, I'm a dead pull hitter, it makes you want to hit that way.
Yeah.
And he's a strikeout guy. I don't think I would play that. I'd play up the middle a bit, but not that much. If you want him swinging the bat hard, he was up there not trying to do anything more than just get a little base hit to the left side.
So the Nats have the lead for the second time tonight, and now Ian Desmond takes a fastball for a strike.
And a backdoor curve, and he stayed right in. That was a pretty good pitch for pitcher's pitch.
That's lined the other way. A base hit for Desmond. Robinson trying for third. The throw by Granderson to third, not in time, and down to second base goes Desmond. And now Robinson came off the bag, and Wright tags him out.
Oh boy! Another gift from the Magi.
Matt Williams will consider whether to challenge. You know, they take liberties on Curtis Granderson's arm, but that was surprising because Robinson doesn't run that well.
Well, Curtis doesn't take it for granted. He comes up throwing, charging and throwing. David does the right thing. Keep the tag on him. Oh.
He lifted that knee off the bag.
Yes, he did.
Third base umpire Dana DeMuth.
And the Nationals keep making mistakes.
No challenge by the Nats.
Did he come all the way off? That shin of his right shin didn't stay on the bag? Left shin? See the left shin that did not stay on the bag?
I think it came up just long enough, so he was out of contact. So it's a single, 9-5 put out at third. Desmond takes second on the throw.
Boy, oh boy, the Nats just imploding.
2 outs and Ramos the batter. Grounded out to short his first time. Takes the fastball off the plate. You can see that knee in the air.
And David doing the right thing, keeping that glove on him. You never know. Yep, he's out.
Just enough daylight.
Well done.
Ramos slugs one to center, but right there is Cespedes, and that retires the side. So 3 hits in the inning, just the 1 run on the Robinson RBI single. Puts the Nats up 2-1 after 4. Came off the bag, and there's your evidence.
Oh, rest my case.
There's your Dodge 5th inning recap. And Nats twice have taken the lead, first on the Harper home run, then on the Robinson hit. Travis d'Arnaud's home run got the Mets even in the second. Strasburg has struck out 5 and walked none over the first 4 innings. Has had the upper hand on DeGrom. And now he'll face d'Arnaud for the second time after Travis took him deep on the first pitch he saw in the second. d'Arnaud, Conforto, and Flores for the Mets in the 5th. Strasburg's retired 8 in a row since the home run. Struck out 5 of the last 6.
That's interesting from Strasburg. He gave up the home run on a high fastball away. What's he come back at him with as Conforto's on deck? Fastballs right after him.
But he kept it away this time, not down the old pipe.
Just off the corner with the fastball. 1-2. What we haven't seen much of tonight is Strasburg's changeup.
Not a lot of left-handed hitters in the lineup. You'll see the hook right now.
And did he go? He did. First base umpire Ed Hickox punches out d'Arnaud, and that is 6 strikeouts for Strasburg, all on curveball.
Well, he's got the best one I've seen him have in some time, so why not continue to use it over and over? You know what he's doing, though? He's getting ahead of the hitters. Once he gets ahead, he can throw it in the strike zone or bounce it, and he's done both. That one stands upright. Remember that first game he pitched against Pittsburgh, you were mentioning, he struck out 14. It was like Pittsburgh had never seen a breaking ball like that before.
It was reminiscent in many ways of the Kerry Wood 20 strikeout game against the Astros.
Yes, there was no way an arm can withstand that kind of torque. And that velocity was throwing the breaking ball. It was just, I said that elbow's got to fall off.
Conforto pops it up. Ramos back for a look. Beyond his reach.
Well, you don't think it hurts an arm to throw a breaking ball? I mean, whoa.
The elbow was not put together to withstand that for long.
So the last, I think, untouched place that a pitcher is going to come from someday, some way, is an underhanded thrower.
Like Cespedes.
Like Cespedes from the outfield. But like a softball pitcher where those young ladies in the universities can pitch all weekend, there's going to be someone come up someday that can throw 90 plus from underhand.
Can do it from 46 feet. I don't know from 60 feet.
It'll be a Sid Finch kind of deal, but it could happen.
I'll probably be 6 feet under by then.
Well, there's another path. Throw knuckleballs.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, the only reason I say that, when I was in the Cape Cod League, there was a young pitcher from Nebraska who was an overhand pitcher, but every once in a while he would throw the ball from down under.
Really?
And it was an underhand softball kind of throw. So if he could do it once in a while, someone someday will do it all the time. Now, he'll be laughed at a lot right from the start, but if he's successful, it'll work. It'll be fine.
People always laugh at the innovators.
That's right.
Two to Conforto. He's able to take the changeup at his feet. 3-2.
I think Conforto is getting a little taste of a big league curveball here.
First 3-ball count of the night for Strasburg, and he gets the curveball over for strike 3 call. Now this is quite a run for Strasburg. He struck out 7 of the last 8 batters, every one on a curveball.
This is the difference between the Bush leagues and the major leagues. 3-2 count, should be getting the fastball, and you get a wicked curve.
Well, he's managed to strike out 7 of the last 8 and still managed to keep his pitch count down. Wilmer Flores fouls back the first pitch fastball. Flores popped up to short his first time up. Well, we all know what Strasburg is capable of when healthy. And there was some concern that he might not be able to make this start tonight, 10 days since his last one, coming back from back problems. But if ever the Nats needed him to have a big game, it's today. Harper catches the pop-up to retire Flores, and Strasburg so far is giving the Nats just that. He's retired 11 straight halfway through, 2-1 Washington. Prognosticators picked the Nationals, but they're 6 games behind the Mets, and it's going to be a very different Washington team in the coming years. They're built to win now. Yeah. They're going to lose that top line, Zimmerman, Pfister, Desmond, and Span, to free agency this year, and the guys on the bottom are eligible for free agency next year, including Strasburg and Papelbon. Matt Dendecker leads off for the Nats in the home fifth. Fly to center his first time up. I have not heard a lot of conversation about the Nats re-signing Desmond or Jordan Zimmerman.
Well, they offered, I think the last off season, they offered Desmond $110 million, and he turned it down.
Duda with the flip to DeGrom, who kicks the bag for the out.
He turned that down. They got through a trade with San Diego, Trey Turner, who's now here and could be a fantastic player at some point. So maybe he's their answer in the future.
DeGrom's such an athlete. Makes an effort for the ball at first. Ronnie realizes he can't get it, goes right to the bag. Well done.
Just don't want to put your foot on top of that bag.
Yeah, well, he knew it was on top. That's why he took it off real quickly.
So Dendecker retired, and now Strasburg, who struck out his first time up. Curveball from DeGrom for a strike. He's trying to show Strasburg he has as good a curve as
yeah, maybe.
Maybe not tonight. Jason Worth on deck. DeGrom's been good, but so far Strasburg's been better.
What I like about DeGrom tonight, though, free and easy. There's no overthrowing in his motion at all, and he's rushing it up there 96 plus.
Slider off the plate to Strasburg, 2-2. Mets 1 run, 2 hits. The Nationals 2 runs, 4 hits. And now a full count to Strasburg. DeGrom has walked 1 and struck out 4 over the first 4 1/3.
one thing about Strasburg, I wouldn't say he's a naturally good hitter, but he's a big kid who's got a lot of pop. He's a little bit like Harvey in that sense.
One career home run. And he takes a rip and comes up empty. That's 5 strikeouts for DeGrom. So 2 out of the inning. The road ahead brought to you by your Tri-State Buick dealer. Let's go to Atlanta. Braves have lost 20 of their last 22, and their pitching has just been dreadful. Then the Mets go home. They play the Marlins, who just beat them 2 out of 3. Then the series with the Yankees, and then they'll play the Braves as well on that homestand. This is the 19th year of interleague play. That will be the biggest series ever between the Mets and the Yankees, other than perhaps the first one because of the novelty of it. But as far as import in the standings for both teams and the time of year, they've never played the Yankees in September before, and they'll be playing in a September where both teams are looking toward October.
For any of my friends, because I've already had a couple of them text me, my answer to you is about Yankee tickets. Are you serious?
Oh, right.
Come on.
Not
no
happening.
Shot.
Rejected.
You know how we know it's an important series? We're only doing one of the games.
Yeah, right. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's right. Friday night.
National TV is taken Saturday afternoon and Sunday night. 0-2 to Worth, who's grounded out twice. Well, it would appear as though Matt Harvey's next start is going to be in that series against the Yankees. Sandy Alderson said as much today, and we had kind of been figuring that. It's going to be very interesting to see how Matt responds after having a difficult night last night. You can assume, I would imagine, that he'll have a little clearer head by the time he gets to next weekend.
Oh, I would think.
I don't know. I always, because that's what I used to do 1,000 years ago, but I always try to put myself in his place of being on a team, having a healthy arm, and not pitching. Like I can't wrap my brain around the concept. I really can't. I understand it. Can't wrap my brain around it. You become like almost a persona non grata on the ball club.
1-2. Misses to Worth, but you know, if you go back 2 years and remember when Matt first hurt his arm,
yeah,
felt fine then too.
Yeah,
a little forearm stiffness, and he was shocked when the MRI revealed the tear, and that's why it took him so long to decide to have the surgery.
Yeah. I mean, Tanaka had the similar thing, and he did not have the surgery, and he's arguably the best pitcher right now for the Yankees with Eovaldi down.
Second full count in a row for DeGrom after getting ahead of Worth. Worth making him work.
Worth's got a slow bat right now.
Ninth pitch of the at bat from DeGrom to Worth, and it's just inside, and Worth is aboard. Second walk of the night given up by Jake. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked which National/Expo hit the most home runs against the Mets. Must be Carter or Dawson.
Gary.
It is Gary.
I added to that list. He had a grand slam off me.
No.
He did. Yes, he did.
Carter spent 11 years as an Expo.
You had to watch him trot around those bases.
Oh, man.
Couldn't have made you happy.
No, I'm the one who threw the pitch.
Curtain call?
No, they weren't curtain calling for the Montreal Expos.
Maybe Youppi dancing around a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, you can see Espinosa, 2 strikeouts, curveballs in the dirt, and a fastball up. You can go up and down the ladder on him. Very open stanced. Extremely. He just has a tough time with breaking stuff and the old gas attack upstairs. He can be pitched too.
Espinosa in the lineup. Yunel Escobar out with 103 fever. And so they put Espinosa in at second, move Rendon over to third. Worth at first and 2 out. DeGrom takes a look at a guy who's not stolen a base all year.
No, that's the guy you want leading off next inning. Another slider, good one, down and in. Espinosa, another upper body hitter, doesn't use his legs.
DeGrom's 80th pitch of the night coming up.
They made DeGrom work this 5th inning.
20 pitches already in the inning to 4 batters.
I think you're going to see the high cheese here, Keith. No more messing around.
Two to Espinosa.
Slider.
Got him with a slider.
Good one.
Side retired. 6 strikeouts for Jacob DeGrom. 3rd time he's gotten Espinosa. Well, with 5 innings having been played, time to say hello to Mr. Lincoln. Hello, Mr. Lincoln. Behind the scenes access, player reactions, and a complete game breakdown with exclusive on-field interviews and Todd Bowles post-game comments on Jets Post-Game Live, presented by Toyota, Sunday immediately after the Jets-Browns game, only on SNY. 6th inning, Jacob DeGrom taking the turn at bat against Steven Strasburg, who's retired 11 Mets in a row and struck out 7 of the last 8. 7 of the last 9.
Yeah.
DeGrom's got to be taking here. Don't get carried away. We know you can swing the bat.
Thought he could pop one. He had game-tying home run on the mind. Still looking for his first, with Syndergaard and Harvey having already gone deep this year. Granderson on deck, Cespedes behind him. 54 home runs between the two of them. And DeGrom takes a strike, 2-2.
DeGrom actually looks very athletic with the clean-shaven look. Looks like an all-American boy.
Strasburg strikes out his 8th. First one he's gotten with the fastball. And he's retired 12 in a row. Then there are your city probables for the weekend. Bartolo Colon puts his 25-inning scoreless streak on the line against Shelby Miller, who's gone 20 straight starts without a win, and he's Atlanta's best pitcher. Steven Matz Friday night against the starter to be announced. Syndergaard and Williams Perez on Saturday. John Neeson, the rookie Ryan Weber, who made his debut yesterday, on Sunday.
How many days rest will Syndergaard have going into that one, Gary?
I think it's 10.
10?
Granderson's 0 for 2. He's popped to short and struck out. When the Braves left Atlanta on June 21st, the Braves were 35-35. And they were 2 games out of first place. Since then, they're 20-49, and now they're 22.5 games out of first place.
Ouch.
What a change. The Braves are a game in front of the Phillies, staying out of last place. Braves have not finished last since 1990.
I'd let Curtis swing here.
But he walked. First walk given up by Strasburg. That snaps a string of 12 in a row retired. Let's check in with the studio. Eamon McEnany has a game break brought to you by Honda. And with the Yankees leading their game against Baltimore 3-1 in the 5th. That AL East race might tighten up tonight. Toronto a game and a half in front of the Yankees. Here's Cespedes, 1 for 2, an infield hit and a strikeout. Granderson at first and 1 out. This is the first time Strasburg has pitched out of the stretch since the first inning.
11 stolen bases for Granderson. Caught 5 times.
Daniel Murphy on deck. Only 2 steals all year against Strasburg, who has done a better job than earlier in his career holding base runners.
Yeah, he's definitely quicker to the plate. You know, Cespedes, even though the breaking ball has been outstanding by Strasburg, he's a good breaking ball hitter. I mean, he hits everything when you think about it.
This is Yoenis Cespedes' 36th game as a Met. Through his first 35, he has 13 home runs. He ties Carlos Delgado for the most home runs ever in his player's first 35 games for the Mets. And he has 34 runs driven in, which is more than any player's had in their first 35 games as a Met.
Well, he's clearly had the greatest impact of anybody on the trade deadline, any pickup, and he's been all of that for the Mets. Just a phenomenal player, just playing great baseball.
Little dribbler, and that'll go foul.
Well, just think about it this way, Gary, and how the late Don Clendenin was revered by Mets fans. In 72 games, he had 12 home runs and 37 RBIs. Hit .252, and he was a savior for that offense.
Right. Agreed.
I think what this guy's doing.
This has been the greatest pickup in-season pickup in Met history, in my opinion.
Well, you were a great in-season pickup, but the team wasn't in a race. Mike Piazza was a great in-season pickup, but they didn't get to the postseason in '98. This guy has a chance to lead the Mets to the promised land.
Strasburg, very deliberate.
Boy, he has slowed everything down now with runners on base, almost like he's in between what he wants to throw here to Cespedes. You know what? He's got to know that this is a big part of this game.
1-2 coming, and he struck him out with a curveball. That's been the story of the night. Steven Strasburg and his curve. He now has 9 strikeouts.
Not a strike, tough to lay off.
So 2 out in the inning, and now it's Daniel Murphy, one of only 2 hitters in the lineup who has not struck out tonight. Murphy and Flores. Murph coming into the night the hardest hitter to strike out in the National League.
Wow, very slow and deliberate Strasburg.
Murphy strokes one out to left center. Over in the gap comes Harper, and that retires the side. A walk in one left. Strasburg with 6 terrific innings. His curveball has been dominant. 2-1 Nats in the 6th. Jacob deGrom, he can make an argument for several starts, but we'll go back to May 21st against the Cardinals when he allowed just 1 hit over 8 innings and struck out 11 and was right at the top of his game.
There are no walks on that day, and I think what's even more important, when you have a start like this against a team that powerful that you could face in October, that's a good thing.
Leaves an impression.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper leads off in the home 6th inning. Harper has scored both runs for the Nats, a home run and a double tonight. And he grounds the first pitch down to Duda, doesn't leave the batter's box, and he's retired. That's 3 times in 2 days that Harper has not run out a ground ball. But if he gets a double and a home run every 3 at bats, I guess nobody cares.
It's interesting how I always give, to me, the guys who catch, Molinas, Ramos here, the guys who catch almost every day, can't really argue when they don't bust it down the line, but boy, it just looks awful as far as a product when you don't at least, run down there. You don't have to be 100%, but give it a decent effort.
Anthony Rendon has walked and grounded out 0 for 1. Glenn Robinson, who drove in the go-ahead run in this game, waiting on deck. And that nips the corner at 95. 1-2 to Rendon.
This is a very, very sharp game for DeGrom, and this is the best curveballs, breaking stuff, sharp, crisp breaking stuff that he's had in the last 3 starts. Back on the beam.
Terry Collins was talking today about the possibility of skipping DeGrom at some point. And he said it's not in the plans right now, but it's something they will consider, as they will with all these pitchers as they come down the stretch.
Well, I was telling you guys before, I'm not a fan of a pitcher who's not coming off an injury that you skip his starts. I think if you want to, after 6 innings, look at it and say, boy, if we push him, it'll get him to 110, 115. Okay, let's just let him go 6. I'm a fan of that in today's game. The reason I say that is because you're not only worried about this year, but at some point you're worried about next year. And I mean the other way. We've been talking about Harvey not being in the rotation. You want DeGrom when next year he gets to 32 or 33 starts, that he's already done it before. He knows it's an old hat. He can get it done. He can maybe go deeper into games. You're building up his endurance for his years to come.
Rendon lifts one to right, and Granderson's right there. 2 out. ERA leaders in the National League. DeGrom sitting 4th behind the 2 Dodgers and Jake Arrieta. It's presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry.
Well, Zach Greinke at 1.68 is off the charts, which always brings us back to 1968 and Bob Gibson, which is 1.12.
Kershaw last night won his 8th in a row.
Well, think about this. Kershaw could strike out 300 this year, and he might not win the Cy Young. Right. I think it's between Arrieta and Greinke right now.
But Kershaw's had the best second half of any of them.
Yeah.
It's a good changeup by DeGrom, 1-1.
Kershaw got a chance to win. What did he win last night? 16?
No, he's 13. I think he has 13 wins. But
okay.
He's 8-0. His ERA is under 1 in his last, 12, 13 starts? 11 starts.
0.93.
Yeah.
I think you got to give a lot of consideration to Arrieta.
Yes.
Boy, oh boy.
No hitter. Cubs. Contention.
Could win 20.
Yeah.
Robinson breaks his bat as he grounds it foul. You know, I was we were talking earlier. I was thinking about Matt Harvey and how they can best use him and keep him effective, because you worry about with the long layoffs, whether it's to the Yankee game or to the Nats or to the playoffs. Why wouldn't you start him every 5 or 6 days and pitch him 1 inning and then piggyback somebody behind him?
You think, Ronnie, he should throw, you got innings. With Harvey's a whole different case.
Yeah.
Robinson strikes out. Just some food for thought, right?
Might put your bullpen in disarray. That's the only issue.
After 6, Nats 2, Mets 1. 2-1 to Steven Strasburg and the Nats. David Wright will lead off in the 7th. Strasburg has walked 1 and struck out 9 over the first 6, allowed just the 2 hits, including the Travis d'Arnaud home run that tied the game for a while in the 2nd. Wright is 0 for 2. And he goes after the first pitch fastball, 0-1.
It's very interesting that he, on first pitch, has thrown that fastball, and the guys have tried to jump all over it so they don't get to that curveball, but it's just been a little out of the strike zone.
Is that by design?
No. He's trying to paint like he did right there. Sometimes, you make a mistake, but it's a little up or it's a little down, and you get away with it.
Lucas Duda on deck, then Travis d'Arnaud in the 7th. And strike 3 called, a high strike called by Mike Estabrook, and David does not like any bit of that.
We saw this last night with Daniel DeMuth. A high strike was called against Cespedes. He didn't like it. Estabrook with a high strike zone also. David thought that was up and away.
I think he thought it was up more than anything.
10 strikeouts for Strasburg, just his 2nd double-digit strikeout game of the season.
Well, that's that borderline high strike that they don't call today. Too close to take in my book.
18 times in his career now, Strasburg has struck out 10 or more. And Duda pulls one just foul. Robinson was playing right on the line, so if it was a fair ball, he probably would have had it.
That's the first time I've seen a guy dive for a ball. His whole body was in foul territory.
Duda looking for his first hit since coming back from the disabled list. 0 for 3 last night, 0 for 2 tonight. And takes the curveball for a strike, and it's 0-2.
A little bit disconcerting right there. That'll get your attention.
Reminds me a little bit of Nolan Ryan's hook when he had it working. Although Nolan's was a little bigger.
Yes.
High cheese. It may be as hard a pitch as Strasburg's thrown all night. His 11th strikeout.
Up the ladder.
Gets up there in a hurry, doesn't it?
Boy.
Let me at him.
Hold me back.
Stay up here.
Well, here's d'Arnaud, who's been the only man to solve Strasburg tonight. Mets have just 2 hits, an infield single by Cespedes, and d'Arnaud's home run with 1 out in the 2nd. Mets have had just 1 base runner since a walk to Granderson in the 6th.
Boy, he's found his rhythm. And here it is. Don't throw it. A fastball right down the middle, up, and d'Arnaud. Beautiful cut. Line drive. Number 11.
Maybe we need to go back to the Terry Collins interview. Curveball for a strike, and it's 0-2.
That's right. d'Arnaud hits better when we're distracted. Is that what you're saying?
Just got a piece. Only 86 pitches for Strasburg, despite the 11 strikeouts. They would love to get him through 8 and get him right to Papelbon. Oh, and 2 to d'Arnaud. And Travis whacks one the other way for a base hit. So d'Arnaud has his 2nd hit of the night, just the Mets' 3rd.
Well, you're protecting a 1-run lead. You can't get hurt away. That's just good hitting right there. Not a bad pitch. Down and away. Boy, Travis is a fine hitter.
Taking it the other way on 0-2. Mets have the tying run aboard with 2 outs, and Michael Conforto up. Conforto's lined out to left and taking the call, 3rd strike, 0 for 2. And the curveball for a strike. Been able to throw that curveball for a strike anytime he's wanted to.
Well, he's around the 50% mark, it seems like to me. And his ability to throw it for strikes when he has to, or to throw it in the dirt when he gets ahead, has been impeccable.
Good pitch.
Nails the corner with a fastball, and it's 0-2. This crowd at Nationals Park has not had much to cheer about in the last couple of days. They're hoping Strasburg can be their hero. Oh, and 2 to Conforto. And he wouldn't chase. 1-2.
Conforto has shown that he has a good knowledge of the strike zone. Flores on the on-deck circle.
It's hard to prepare in the Eastern League, though, to face this kind of curveball.
And it's been interesting. Terry Collins has been very hesitant in his praise of Conforto. Just trying not to build up expectations.
He goes down swinging. Strikeout number 12 for Strasburg. He fans 3 in the 7th inning. Dominant night for Strasburg. 2-1 Nats in the 7th. Because the president would throw out the first pitch on opening day. And the tradition continues. Tonight's Twisted But True Fact is brought to you by Twisted Tea, the hard iced tea that tastes like real iced tea. And it is William Howard Taft who some baseball historians give credit for the 7th inning stretch. Some others give it to Brother Jasper at Manhattan College. You can take the historical version that you care for and make it your Twisted But True Fact.
Keith, at the Yale baseball field behind the plate, they have a seat where they took out the middle aluminum rod. So it's 2 seats that are put together without the aluminum rod, so William Howard Taft could sit and watch the games because he is a big man.
Yes, tomorrow night we'll be in Atlanta for the first of 4 between the Mets and Braves. 6 o'clock tomorrow right here on SNY.
Go ahead and read the billboards, Garrett.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side. Speak with Rich Grillo in Massapequa or James Finaro in Bethpage today. By the NYCB family of banks. Is that good? And by Lexus, the first ever Lexus NX Turbo go beyond utility.
Are you done?
You were going to say
it was nice that that they had the presidents throwing out the ball, all of the various presidents in chronological order.
It was very nice. There is we saw William Taft, who looking very svelte compared to his actual historic self. There's Bill. So there are what now? 6 racing.
Oh, that's right. There's Taft. She's got to have it. There's Thomas.
Jefferson. Taft. Teddy. Lincoln. DeGrom. DeGrom trying to keep the Mets within a run as he takes them out for the 7th. Ian Desmond leads off. Desmond's 1 for 2 tonight. He singled back in the 4th. That was the last hit that DeGrom gave up.
Probably DeGrom's last inning, right? Second hitter next inning.
Well, he's going to hit his pitch count anyway.
Yeah.
Wilson Ramos on deck. Matt Dendecker behind him. No hint of action in the Nats bullpen with the pitcher due a 4th. Strasburg's only thrown 91 pitches through 7 despite the 12 strikeouts. Rom comes inside to get Desmond with a changeup. His 8th strikeout.
Boy, these pitchers are on top of their game, aren't they?
Part of pitcher's duel.
Anything they want to throw, they can throw for strikes.
Well, that circle change.
Righty on righty changeup. You just don't see that as a hitter.
Let's have the bullpen ready if needed for DeGrom in the 7th. Dario Alvarez, the left-hander. Hansel Robles, the right-hander. Both doing more standing than throwing. Wilson Ramos is 0 for 2. Grounded out and flied out. After today, just 23 games left. Each team has 12 home games. The schedule strength is about the same. And they will meet on the final weekend of the season. And we'll see whether it will have import. Much will depend on the outcome of this game tonight. Mets will either be 5 or 7 games in front when they leave town. 4-2 to Ramos.
Well, 5 with 23 to play would be got some work ahead of you. 7 would be a nice cushion to have.
And Ramos goes down swinging on the changeup. So back-to-back strikeouts for DeGrom, both with the off-speed pitch, and he's got 9 for the night. 21 strikeouts in this game.
Well, quite the pitcher's duel.
Now Matt Dendecker is 0 for 2. Fly down, grounded out. One bugaboo for DeGrom tonight has been Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Harper homered in the 1st, doubled and scored in the 4th. Dendecker right over the bag, and he's got himself a base hit down the line off the jutting stands, and Dendecker will cruise into 2nd with a 2-out double. 2nd double of the season for Dendecker.
Got himself a fastball in, kind of bled out over the middle. Right over the bag.
So Dendecker in scoring position. And since Strasburg isn't going anywhere, DeGrom has a chance to get through this inning. He's faced Strasburg twice, struck him out both times. Strasburg looking for his first run batted into the season. And he grounds one down to right. And David takes care of Strasburg. That ends the inning. And that sends us off to the 8th. Strasburg taking the mound. He's already fanned a dozen. Let's try and rally against him in the 8th, down 2-1. A big-time pitcher's duel tonight. Steven Strasburg, perhaps with his team's season on the line against Jacob deGrom. And they've combined for 21 strikeouts over the first 7 innings. But Bryce Harper's been the difference. He homered, Travis d'Arnaud homered, and then Harper doubled and scored. And that's been all the scoring in this game as we go to the 8th inning. They're People's United Bank starters, and both have been impressive tonight, but Strasburg has been at a different level.
To me, he's having a Dwight Gooden kind of game. You just don't see 12 strikeouts over 7 innings with only 91 pitches.
Kelly Johnson is going to bat for Wilmer Flores as we go to the 8th inning. Flores was 0 for 2 against Strasburg tonight, and Terry feeling as though the lefty might have a little better crack at him. Yesterday's hero, Kirk Neuenhuis, is on deck to bat for deGrom. And Kelly takes a changeup. 2-0.
I like this move by Terry.
Johnson was announced as a pinch hitter but never got to the plate yesterday. He homered in the opening game of the series Monday afternoon. And Johnson whacks one deep to right field. Back goes Worth to the warning track, looking up, and it's out of here! Kelly Johnson ties the game with a pinch hit home run. More Mets lightning in the 8th inning. Number 14 for Kelly Johnson. And just like that, the Mets get even against Strasburg and the Nats in the 8th.
Look at the smiles on deGrom's face there in the dugout.
Terry Collins, pull back the curtain. You're like the Wizard of Oz over there.
Well, fastball right on the outer half, middle, mid-thigh, right where Kelly likes it, an upper tank.
2-0 count.
Second tank, I should say.
Now Neuenhuis, who gave the Mets the lead in the 8th inning last night, and he takes a strike from Strasburg.
Well, I tell you what, the 4 new members of this team have been all over it. Well done. Nicely done, Terry. Good call.
Last night the Mets were tied in the 8th inning when Neuenhuis stepped in against Jonathan Papelbon in his first career pinch hit home run. Tonight it's Kelly Johnson who ties the game with a pinch hit home run.
That picture of deGrom on the bench with a sheepish grin. It's like, well, you can score one more if you want, guys.
Give me a W. Got me off the hook. Don't be afraid.
Before last night, the Mets only had 1 pinch hit home run all season. That was from Juan Lagares. Now they've got 2 in 2 nights. 1 to give them the lead, 1 to tie the game. Second career pinch hit home run for Kelly Johnson. There's deGrom's line. Now he's hoping the Mets can get him a run and give him a chance to win. On the inside corner, Neuenhuis caught looking at the fastball, and that's 13 strikeouts for Strasburg.
Good pitch.
Strasburg now just 1 shy of his career high that he set in his major league debut when he struck out 14 Pirates. Here's Granderson up for the 4th time. Curtis has popped up, struck out, and walked 0 for 2.
Well, you can sit here and say, nice move, Terry Collins. And yes, it was. But you know what? He didn't have these options the first half of the season.
But yeah, he didn't have the options. But it took a lot to bat for Flores there. That's a move. It's easy to bat for the pitcher. That's a move that usually isn't made.
Going to the changeup here twice, back to back.
It's all a matter of making the most of what you have.
Yeah.
And that's what Terry has done his entire tenure with this team. He didn't have much for a long time, but now he does, and he's making the best use of it. 1-2 to Granderson.
Well, I'm sure that he can give a twit about it, but he's certainly one of the top contenders for National League Manager of the Year.
To me, it's him or Joe Madden.
Yes.
1-2 coming. Granderson pokes one into center field for a base hit. So somebody finally gets on the curveball from Strasburg. And Granderson is aboard with the go-ahead run with 1 out. Checking with the studio, Eamon McEnany has another game break brought to you by Ford. And here's Steven Strasburg walking off. He can't win. He could lose. Despite a dominating performance, 13 strikeouts for Strasburg, but a couple of solo home runs, and he leads in a tie ball game in the 8th at 103 pitches. And Drew Storen will come back out in the 8th inning tonight.
You can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Sooner or later, God.
Well, after a meltdown outing last night, Drew Storen right back at it tonight, coming into a tie game in the 8th. And coming in to face the same guy he came in to face yesterday, Yoenis Cespedes, who greeted him with a 3-run double. Granderson at first and 1 out, 2-2 game in the 8th. And he moves Cespedes off the plate.
I don't see the hesitation on the top of his motion, Ronnie.
Yeah.
You know, he's like rushing it. Storen, I'm talking about, of course. He always had that hesitation at the top.
Just squeezing the baseball last night.
Cespedes hits one deep to left center. Back toward the wall. Looking off. And it's out of here. Yoenis Cespedes gives the Mets the lead. The monstrous 6 weeks of Yoenis Cespedes keeps on paying dividends for the New York Mets. His 32nd home run of the year, his 14th as a Met, and for the second straight night, he greets Storen with a big blow, and the Mets lead 4-2 in the 8th.
Oh my gosh! Look at that bench. Oh man!
What manner of magic is this team perpetrating?
Whoa. Can this game be cruel? I don't know if Matt Williams is going to survive this one. Hanging breaking ball, folks. On a tee. Boom. Adios, amigo.
Do you remember last night he took the first pitch slider, then he hit the fastball. This time he took the fastball inside and hit the slider.
He is just out of this world.
What a player.
Espinosa throws out Murphy for the second out.
Look at this. Oh, he leaned back. And, oh, what a follow through.
He back-legged him.
A quality relief pitcher whose world has fallen apart again. And Yoenis Cespedes.
Oh my goodness.
You know, there's been talk in the last few days about Cespedes getting MVP votes. And in my mind, I was kind of discounting it.
I talked to you about it.
But the way this is going, he may be in the conversation.
Yes.
This also gives Strasburg the pitcher of record. Oh, wow.
And how about Jacob deGrom?
DeGrom now stands to be a winner. Strasburg couldn't have done much more tonight. But he gave up the tying home run to Kelly Johnson. And Matt Williams, who was booed lustily when he came out of the dugout to take Strasburg out, brings Storin in. And on Storin's second pitch, Cespedes ruins his night again.
Everything is going wrong. And all the moves that Terry Collins are making are going right. Wow. I don't think I've ever experienced this.
Wright hits one slowly, cut off by Rendon. That retires the side. But the Mets playing eighth inning lightning again. Last night it was New and Heiss. Today it's those two guys, Kelly Johnson and Yoenis Cespedes. Eighth inning home runs to put the Mets on top. 4-2 heading to the bottom of the eighth. Run stays in at second base. Ruben Tejada will play short and bat ninth, and Tyler Clippard, who dominated his old team last night, will try and do it again tonight.
Well, he did it with a couple of punch outs last night as he looked pumped. He was getting his curveball over last night and looked dominant.
What was it that Casey Stengel said? Amazing, 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 amazing. This team is just amazing. I mean, it's obviously been Cespedes front and center, but the whole group.
I've never seen anything like it.
This is this guy is.
I mean, we played on teams that won 108 games. I said to Keith when Storen came in, the way it's going right now, you know he's going to hit a 2-run home run, and he does.
Jason Worth, first man up against Clippard in the bottom of the 8th. Well, what must the Nats dugout be feeling? 3 straight days now the Mets have come from behind in the late innings.
It's a combination. It's a combination of, here was your chance to get back in the race. The kid who was your closer all season long and doing a great job until you went and got Papelbon has now lost his way. And you've got a manager that you're looking at every time he pushes a button, it tilts.
It's snowballing on this ball club. This game's not over yet. 6 outs.
Worth goes after the pitch out of the strike zone, 1-2. Well, we talked about it last night. Drew Storen's difficulty in big spots going back to the division series in 2012, and these last 2 nights cannot have helped his psyche. And this team is so fired up right now. The reactions in the dugout, the reaction in the bullpen.
What division flags are made of.
Imagine what the fans are doing at home. They're jumping up and down.
Stop texting me, folks.
Worth pops one up. Duda should have room and puts it away. 1 out. Watch where the home run lands and how the bullpen reacts.
Oh, this just.
That's his second moonshot here.
That's me reacting. 17.
Been plenty to react to since that guy arrived. What did you say the Mets record was since he got here, Keith?
Oh,
you had that earlier.
I had it.
24-11.
Something like that.
Drag bunt attempt by Espinosa, but right back to Clippard, and that's the 2nd out.
Boy, thank you very much if you're a pitcher. This is the first time I've seen a reaction like this, right? In the Mets dugout, guys. I mean, we've seen this, but if we follow it all the way, watch when Cespedes gets finally into the dugout. They form like a scrum.
That is inspiring.
By the way, there are a lot of guys in that dugout.
Yeah, that's right. Watch when he gets in. I mean, I haven't seen this yet.
I prefer this to the old car wash.
I mean, look at this.
Bryce Harper takes the rip. Now, Harper's been the only answer for the Nats tonight, but he's not in a position to tie the game with the Nats down 4-2 in the 8th. And that's right, just what Clippard wanted when this inning began. Retired the first 2 hitters ahead of him. Harper has homered and doubled and scored the only 2 Washington runs tonight.
Boy, oh boy, this knocks this. I think last night knocked the starch out of this Washington team. This one, if the Mets can hang on and get 4 more outs, is got to just. It's just going to be very difficult for them.
Someone asked Terry Collins before the game tonight if all the excitement of yesterday's win, did he have to worry about a letdown today? And he said no, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
We go to Atlanta.
And no, yep,
but not today.
Uh-oh.
The bags are out.
Is it the Gong Show?
It's like the Aints.
Huh.
3-1 to Harper. I want to walk him. A good hitter with Rendon on deck.
I mean, only the Nats fans can answer this, but does it add salt in the wound that Storen struggles and Clippard is pitching right now for the Mets?
That's drilled to deep right field, right down the line toward the pole, and it's out of here.
Wow.
Bryce Harper hits his second home run of the night to get the Nats back within a run. Big night for Harper, his 36th home run of the year. And the Met lead is now 4-3.
Cannot pitch him down, middle, in.
Well, he's having an MVP game, isn't he?
Well, he's doing all he can do.
Yeah.
Well, he sees the competition looming from number 52 in gray. Second home run Clippard's allowed in his last 3 appearances. He gave one up to Justin Bour in Miami. Now here's Anthony Rendon with 2 out. And he drops down a bunt. Wright has to charge, makes the bare hand play, but has no play. So Rendon with a bunt single to keep the inning going and put the tying run on base.
Well, this is if you had a really good late inning left-hander. Although, you know, I wouldn't want to bring in a left-hander. There's too much right-handed bench on that tough right-handed bench on that Washington.
Listen, left-handers in their career, Keith, against Clippard hit less than 120.
So Clint Robinson, who drove in the second Washington run with a base hit in the 4th, bats with Rendon, the tying run at first. He sells that changeup high, ball 1.
Clippard not as sharp, obviously, as he was last night.
No pinch runner for Rendon. They've got Trey Turner in the dugout as one of the fastest guys in baseball. But no move by Matt Williams to take out Rendon, who is not fast. And
the ball on the field.
Got loose from the stands with the bullpen. It's out in right field.
Well, the Mets have a big shift on with Kelly Johnson way out in right field, Tejada on the right side of second base, and David Wright is able now to take away that base hit that Robertson got in the last at bat.
Wright just moved Conforto deeper in left field. I'm going to play no doubles here. And there's a strike. 1-1.
Well, it's a good defense for Robinson because the major weapon against left-handers for Clippard is that good changeup.
It's a similar situation in Miami, Gary, with Justin Bour up at the plate. When
Robinson 7 home runs this year. Fastball, and he swings over it. 1-2.
Boy, that was perfectly placed. Tied him up inside, Keith.
Well, I think that Tyler has to throw left-handers inside to set up that changeup.
Tying run at first and 2 out. 1-2 to Clint Robinson.
Little poke, shallow left. Conforto coming on, sliding, and he made the catch.
Wow.
Michael Conforto playing deep, no doubles, had to come a long way, and he makes a terrific play to retire Robinson and get Clippard through the inning. They've been taking him out for defense late, but there's been very few flaws in Michael Conforto's defense, and Tyler Clippard appreciates the rookie making the big play to keep the Mets up by a run as we head to the ninth in D.C.
All right, guys. Now Jonathan Papelbon comes in with his team down by a run in the ninth. Lucas Duda leads off in the ninth inning. Lucas 0 for 3 today, a fly ball and 2 strikeouts. So Papelbon yesterday was brought into the 8th in a tie game. Today he comes on in the 9th with his team down a run.
He pitched 2 innings, only threw 20 pitches, but one of them left the ballpark off the bat of Neuenhuis.
Duda smacks one into right center for a base hit, and that's going to roll all the way back to the warning track. Duda heads for second as Worth's throw comes in, not in time. A leadoff double for Lucas Duda, his first hit since coming back from the disabled list.
Nice hitting, Lucas. Goes after that little fastball sinking away. Nicely done. And now it's incumbent on d'Arnaud to either drive him in. He's got minimum, has to advance Lucas to third base.
How's the bench set up to pinch run Eric Young here? No, you want Duda for defensive first?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Who else do you have?
You can move Kelly to first.
Or you can play Campbell there.
Yeah.
Those are your choices.
Get him to third. Clint Robertson at first base is playing in. I can't imagine that they're not going to bunt d'Arnaud.
No.
Let him swing the bat. It's hot tonight.
d'Arnaud's 2 for 3 tonight, a home run and an opposite field single.
And he whacks one the other way. That'll advance the runner. Espinosa thought about throwing to third, but turned down the play. So d'Arnaud gets the job done and moves Duda over to third.
Beautiful back control by d'Arnaud. Absolutely phenomenal back control. Well, he could have pulled. He knew he hit a rocket to the opposite field, right at the second baseman.
Gets a scrum for an advancing ground out.
This is why I say, Gary, you can hit and run with this guy. Fastball down the middle. Look at that. That is just beautiful.
And now Eric Young will run for Duda at third base so that it doesn't take too deep a fly ball from Conforto to get the run in.
See how this young man reacts in this big at bat.
Conforto's 0 for 3 today, lined out to left and then struck out twice against Strasburg, who fanned 13. Flied out against Papelbon last night. Infield in, and Conforto pulls one. It goes off the glove of Espinosa. That brings in the run, and the Mets get the insurance run home in the ninth.
A hot shot off the bat of Conforto. They ate up Espinosa. Young scores, and the Mets lead 5-3.
And let's see how they score this. They rule this an error. It's a tough error. It should be a base hit.
Gotta be a hit.
Rocket.
And they do rule it a hit for Conforto.
And I like first ball, fastball hitting. Bullet. Oh, he lifted up the.
Hit him on the knee.
He lifted up the glove. Open the floodgates. Big run.
So the Mets now with an insurance run for Familia to work with in the ninth. Here's Kelly Johnson, who got the whole comeback started with a tying home run in the 8th.
Well, that's Papelbon. Tired. I mean, the bullet, can't expect your players to make that play.
Well, he's given up 3 hard hit balls in a row.
Johnson pokes one to the left side. Nice snag by Rendon. They get the out at second, and Espinosa with the turn for the double play. But a beautiful play by Rendon to reach for that ground ball and start the 5-4-3 double play. But the Mets plate an insurance run in the ninth, and now they'll hand it off to Familia, 3 outs away from a series sweep in Washington. To the bottom of the ninth we go, 5-3 New York.
Postgame Extra, an exclusive online postgame show featuring more reaction from tonight's Mets-Nationals game and additional analysis from us in the booth on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, part of the SNY.TV blog network. Changes for the Mets. Eric Campbell comes in to play first base. Yoenis Cespedes moves from center to left. Juan Lagares comes in for ninth inning defense in center. And Jeurys Familia goes for save number 39.
Have a chance to have a save in all 3 games of this series. You see his numbers just tremendous this season for Familia.
Ian Desmond, first man up against him in the last of the ninth. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Desmond 1 for 3 tonight. The Mets coming from behind in the late innings in all 3 games in this series. And now Familia trying to make it stand up for the 3rd straight day. And Desmond goes after the fastball, and it's 0-2.
Gary, just so they know, Campbell went into the 3-hole and Lagares went into Duda's spot in the 5-hole.
Thank you, Keith. It's a real team effort.
I know that's very important to you.
Familia strikes out Desmond to start the last of the ninth.
Slider, sinker, go sit down.
Well, Sharks are circling.
Interesting. Familia threw a lot of splitters the first 2 games of this series.
Good observation, Gary. And not that time.
Changing the game plan a little bit. There's Ramos, who's 0 for 3. Grounded out, flied out, struck out. Mets trying to beat the Nationals for the 6th straight time. And Familia gets ahead on Ramos with a fastball. 99 miles an hour.
Well, obviously a huge insurance run picked up in that bottom of the 8th. Top of the 8th, excuse me. Top of the 9th. I'll get it right.
That's with 3 in the 8th and 1 in the 9th. Almost fouls it back. 5 pitches, 5 strikes for Familia.
Who was it? Brock Holt about a couple of weeks ago said the nastiest pitcher on the planet.
Yes.
He's got 38 saves, 5 off the Mets club record held by Armando Benitez.
In his first year of getting the position.
Which wasn't even supposed to be his.
That's right.
Talk about taking it and running with it. 0-2 to Ramos. Low and away. Geico Sports Night after the post game. Football, tennis, more baseball, all coming up tonight after the post game on SNY. Matt Dendecker on deck. Sounds redundant. 1-2 coming. Struck him out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Familia to start the ninth. And now the Mets are 1 out away.
That might have been the splitter, guys, at 95 miles an hour. Yes, it was.
And a good one. Can we roll the Jaws music?
So it's left to Dendecker, who had a double against DeGrom his last time up in the 7th.
Wow.
If Dendecker can keep it going, Yunel Escobar has come out on deck. Escobar was held out of the lineup with 103 fever. But he's ready to hit now if Dendecker can keep it going. Dendecker pops it up in the left. Cespedes waiting for it to come down. And the ball game is over. And the Mets complete the sweep of the Nationals. They come from behind in the late innings for the 3rd straight day. Cespedes with the go-ahead 2-run homer in the 8th. And the Mets are now 7 games in front of the Nationals with 23 left to play as they wipe away the Nats
sweeping them for a second straight series.
I tell you what, in the fashion that they swept this series is devastating for the Nationals and uplifting for the Mets. And Cespedes has led the way again. The big shot, the big 2-run shot in the 8th inning that gave the Mets the lead that they held and went on to win. What a series for the Metsies.
One of the best series I've seen the Mets have, and maybe there's the changing of the guard. 4-15 against this Nationals team last year, 6 straight now.
And they did it on a day